This screencast is a quick explanation of how to interpret these graphs that we've put together that show both class and examination marks. Our purpose in putting this together, the whole point, is to provide another form of information in an attempt, and these charts are an attempt to visualize both class mark and examination mark data, hopefully in a way that is useful and that it gives more information beyond just simply the list of results. We also hope that this provides some basis for comparing class marks and examination marks, or at least trying to draw some meaningful conclusions out of comparing the two. The way this is laid out is each subject is put in its own panel. This square here, this is a panel, and you can see that this panel itself deals with English, this one with French, so on and so forth. Down here on the bottom we have the scale. The scale applies both to this panel for Latin and to English, and you can see that this scale here applies to these two, and again, so on and so forth. All marks are converted to a percentage. In the past, or currently, the examination marks are often out of a whole bunch of different numbers, maybe 132 or 60 or something like that. We've converted all of them to a percentage so that we have a basis for comparison. Within each panel, I've got box plots, and what I want to do is just quickly look at a sample box plot, just in case you're not familiar with these. Also known as a box and whisker plot, it's broken up into 4 different sections. The middle, this bit right here, this is the median, which is the 50th percentile, which means that half the marks are below that and half the marks are above that. We have at the top, we've got this top whisker, which is the top 25%, and we've got this whisker down here, which is the bottom whisker, the bottom 25%. The box itself is therefore the middle 50%, so it goes from the 25th percentile down here to the 75th percentile up here, and it's broken in the middle where the median is. So you can both see the 4 quartiles of the distribution, as well as getting a feel for that distribution itself. So for example, the top whisker runs from here to here, so that's roughly 1 1/4 units, whereas the bottom whisker runs from 1 to 3 units. So you can see the bottom 25% are much more spread out than the top 25%. Similarly, if you look at the box itself, you can see the median is skewed way down towards the bottom. So in other words, the bottom of this, so basically from the 25th to the 50th percentile, are basically 1 unit, whereas from the 50th to the 75th are 2 units. So the boys are spread out twice as much in this upper part of the distribution as opposed to down here. And this can just tell you how clumped together the boys are in different parts of that distribution. So if we go back to our chart here, we can look at how this plays out. So for example, over here with science, we can see that the class mark, and basically what these different plots are here, is this one is the class mark, so it's the distribution of the class marks within the class. This is the distribution of the exam marks, but only for the boys' class, not the entire form, and this is very important. This shows you how he and his classmates went in the examination. It does not show how he went in the form. This top line here, it's a little bit different. All we've done here is we've drawn a line from the top mark over here to the bottom mark over here, and we've shown the grade cutoffs. And the diamond is where the boy himself stands in each of these distributions. So let's have a little bit of a closer look. If we look over here, we see the science class marks. These are quite compressed. They run from about 70 to about 92 or so. So not a particularly big distribution there. Whereas down here, we might look at this class mark in Latin. We can see it runs all the way from 40 to about 90. So you've got a range of about 50 marks here, whereas here, going from 70 to 90, you've got about 20. So you've got twice the distribution here. You can compare between the two a little bit. It's dangerous to make too many hard and fast conclusions, but there are some observations that one can make. For example, here you can see a boy, this diamond, he was just off the median, so he was just below the middle of the class, and he was well within the majority of the cohort. So what you can see here is you can see the majority of the boys are here. There's a little bit of a whisker up the top here, but then the boys in the bottom quarter are quite run out. They're strung out quite far, so it sort of suggests the boys at the bottom are having a lot more difficulty than the boys from the 25th percentile up. And the boy here, was just about close to the middle. However, in the examination, he performed right down towards the bottom of his class. So this is a little bit of a worry, whereas he was able to keep up with classwork. When he got to the progress test, he found it much more difficult and has been pushed down. In the same sort of way, we look at English up here. You can see he was actually performing in the upper half of his class. Probably this line here would have been about 6th in the class, and this would have been 12th, so he's probably about 8th in his class in class mark. But among his peers on how they went in the examination, he was down here, he's probably about 18th or something like that. But you can see here, he's still down, he's gotten a P, but he's just off a PM, and you can see that there really wasn't a lot in the distribution here. There weren't a whole lot of marks separating the boys from a PM all the way up to an HD, as opposed to, say, French, where you can see more marks distributing them. But nonetheless, he's gone from the upper part of his class to the bottom part of his class, and so this is a fall off that one would want to note. You can see it expressed here. You can see a similar sort of pattern in Latin, where he's near the middle, gone down towards the bottom. You can see here in maths, he was down towards the bottom, but he was within the pack, and you can see that that bottom part of the pack is quite spread out. But when he got to the progress test, he was right at the bottom of his class, and so he's fallen off there as well. He's managed to get a P, but he's just barely scraped into the P range. Something like science or something like French, you can see that he was at the bottom of his class in science, in both the class mark and among his classmates on the examination itself. Whereas you can see here in French, though not right at the bottom, again, very consistently right down at the bottom of his cohort within his class, and that also reflects within the examination or progress test result here.